The Hoover 913, the armored Hoover. Today, lots of times a residential vacuum will pass for a commercial vacuum if it has only so much as a 3-wire grounded cord and a safety orange color scheme. But back in the day, commercial quality meant something. And this vacuum cleaner, the design of which ran from the 40s all the way up until the late 70s, was Hoover's answer to the need for a vacuum cleaner that would get abuse heaped on it on a daily basis. So here's some things that make this Hoover distinctive from a residential Hoover of the same time period. It has a very distinctive look. It's instantly recognizable. And these were the sanitaires of their day. I mean, today you see red and chrome sanitaire vacuums in so many commercial places like restaurants and casinos. This was that from the 40s, 50s, 60s, even into the 70s. And that's really when sanitaires started to take over. But here's a Hoover 29 from the early 50s. I think this example of the 913 is probably from the late 50s, early 60s, so would have been sold alongside a convertible. Starting with the hood, since the 150, every Hoover had a plastic hood, and this one's no different. Well, that wouldn't do for a machine that was truly commercial. So this 913 has a cast aluminum hood. On some of these, this part was the same color as the base, a lighter gray, and only the raised portion was a darker gray. But there were several different versions of this, and I don't know which version goes with which model number exactly, but this one is a 913. Heavy cast aluminum base, very heavy rubber bumpers, not only to protect the furniture, but also to protect the machine and cushion the blows, as it would be continually bashed into walls and furniture and table legs and things. On this machine, the handle yoke has a plate that's riveted into the aluminum base. And the rivets work themselves loose, and the yoke itself, on every one of these I've ever seen, is pretty wobbly. And on this, the handle yoke is a part of the motor plate, the steel motor plate. By the way, the bottom plate of the motor is steel and Bakelite, but on these, the Bakelite motor was just screwed directly into the cast aluminum. And there's no wobble at all in this. It's rock solid, as it would have to be. This machine is a good, probably nearly 10 pounds heavier than this one, perhaps. Where the handle is secured to the handle yoke, it's clamped and not through bolted. And I think that was just to reduce a weak point in the handle that screw would have created. The handles are the same height on these. The 913 did not originally come with a handle grip. I just put this on there to keep the paint from wearing off. Power cords. This is a Hoover replacement power cord, by the way. The original one would have been the same beautiful burgundy color as the rest of the machine. But if you compare the cords, you'll see the commercial cord is heavier gauge. It is longer also, I think 35 feet. Still has the Hoover embossed plug. Hoover was always really cool about making their own plugs for their cords instead of just buying whatever the cord manufacturer had. They built it themselves. Very, very nice. You know, today all these parts are off the shelf Lego parts, and so a cord off a vacuum could have come from almost any different vacuum, with few exceptions. And that wasn't nearly the case so often back in the day. So the cord, even though it's heavier gauge, has only 2 wires. They kept that up until the 918 and U7037, the last 2 versions of this. And at that point, I think UL required it to have a grounding wire because it is a metal vacuum cleaner. On this one, the bag catch lifts up. On this one, it slides. Probably a little bit more durable that way. Looking underneath, let's put this next to that. Oh, where to begin? The height adjustment. On the residential Hoovers, you had a lever adjustment with a catch that would determine whether this thing was in low or high mode. On the earliest ones, it was just two position. You would pull the pin, and the pin itself would go back and forth. And this being a later version, you rotate this from thick to normal to thin. Oop, okay, one-handed, but there's thin for most commercial carpets. I leave it on thick. Extra heavy wheels with little hubcaps, so you could put a little grease on there and then put the hubcaps back on, and it would keep it in there. Regular lubrication was ideal for these things, and it would keep you from wearing out your wheels. They did have bushings in them. They weren't just plastic riding on metal as the newer machines were. If you look at the casting, the thickness, the commercial compared to the residential one, they really beefed it up. It's about twice as thick. Same with the bumper. And in the front, let's see, you can see on top of the aluminum casting, there is a steel plate providing extra reinforcement, just because they knew otherwise that would be a failure point. Bottom plate on this one, to accept the tool conversion, you have this slot here, and there's a little handhole cover that comes off. On these, even though I think it's hilarious that attachments were even available for these, you did have to take the bottom plate off, take the belt off, and then there was a big plate with a snout that came out the side of the thing, and that was what you hooked the hose onto. Probably had pretty terrible tool suction. These were definitely carpet cleaners above anything else. I think same fan as these. Actually, no. No, you can see this one. The center hub is taller and the belt pulley is shorter. And on this one, the center hub is short and the belt pulley is tall. Interesting. Same brush roll, same cleaning path. The earliest commercial Hoovers gave you a big, wide cleaning path, and then the Conquest machines that replaced these were available in up to 18 and even 24-inch versions, where this one, it was just heavier, it wasn't bigger. The cleaning path wasn't bigger, that is. This scuff plate protects the bag as the machine is moved around, whether it's in use or being wheeled from place to place. The bag itself, and this is actually another 913 bag, it's reinforced with a patch sewn inside at the bottom, just canvas. It's not particularly heavy. It's bigger than a normal bag, but it's not heavier, and it doesn't filter well at all. These machines are very dusty to use, unless you do what I've done and take a adapter plate bellows and fill tube off of, I believe, a 63 and put it in there, and then you can use either a Type C or my preference, which is a Eureka F&G bag, to cut down the dust to a manageable level. Back then all they were trying to do was get the dust off the carpet. Who cared if some of it went into the air? You'll notice that the bumper on this machine was just cut from a strip and then riveted. Came in a big long roll. And on this one, the bumper is a molded part, and it interlocks in and then is riveted in place. Something that the convertibles didn't have, but who did copy this design is Sanitaire. And of course, the Hoover Conquest had a similar setup also. Conquest replaced this line of machines in the early 1980s. And I remember one old-time vacuum dealer telling me that when he first saw the Conquest come out to replace these, he said it was a plastic piece of crap and it would never work as well. I love it. The wattage on these things, even though the motor looks the same outwardly, this machine has a rated consumption of 400 watts, and this one has a rated consumption of 420 watts, and it makes them sound different. These machines, owing to the difference in the motors and also the sound damping effects of the big metal hood and base, make these machines run very quietly, and they're pleasant to listen to, especially far away, as if you're walking the aisles of a department store listening to the janitor close up and start to clean for the evening. And I always get a kick out of using these machines. This one is in especially nice shape, and I've had several of these that are in especially nice shape. And my theory is, even though it's surprising for a machine that was built and sold expressly to have the snot beaten out of it, I think the machines that were really in poor shape were all thrown away, leaving the ones that were relatively babied through their life. And if I'm to believe the sticker on the handle, if it can be focused upon, boy, I should get a real camera. AAA Vacuum and Sewing in Santa Clara, California. Wonder if they just serviced it or if they... No, this wouldn't have been sold by a vacuum store. It would have been a Hoover dealer, so that was just a service place. Anyway, that's that. The Hoover 913 really is a tank rolling along your rugs, beating, sweeping, and cleaning as it goes.